Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is the 7th of September and I'm opening this wrap-up vlog because I actually finished 4 books over the weekend. Today is Monday. For those that are not aware, I'm sure you are because I keep mentioning it in every other sentence, which I'm sure is really obnoxious and annoying, and I'm trying to stop. But I have just started a PGCE degree, so that is a teacher training degree. And even though I've only done 4 days because the first week was short because of the bank holiday, I am trying quite hard to get into good habits early and set some boundaries so that I have enough downtime, and one of the boundaries I've set is no filming on a Sunday. So I finished all 4 books yesterday and I was going to film, but it's just like I'm exhausted and this is my time off, so I'm not filming. So you get a clip today. I've also actually got 5 books to talk about because the first one is some book mail that I was sent, and that was The Family Upstairs by Jewell. I opened this without the camera because I'd actually ordered some other stuff and didn't realise that this was in there, but this is a gift from Victoria, who is Confession of a Reading Freak on Instagram. If you saw my birthday book unboxing, I'm part of a group on Instagram that is run by Charlotte Books and Bargains, which is a birthday book club. So my birthday's in August, so everyone in the group bought me a book in August, and Victoria's was just a bit delayed, but I'm really excited that she picked this. I've heard so many people rave about it, including Leanne at Literary Diversions, that does not want to stay in there, who gave it 5 stars, and actually I'm so excited about it. I'm just going to put it on my immediate September reading stack, also because I think it'll be like a fairly easy quick read for me, which I need at the moment. But basically all I know about this is that 25 years ago a baby was found in a house in London and everyone else in the house was dead, but the baby was well cared for and happy, and then I think it skips forward 25 years to when that baby is grown up and it goes from there. I think it's something to do with a cult, but I really don't want to know any more than that. I just know that I've seen a few people who I trust, like I said, including Leanne, rave about this. So yeah, thank you Victoria, I'm very, very excited to get to that. Probably soon, you'll probably see a clip in this wrap up, unless life gets in the way. Okay, 4 books that I finished this weekend. We've got a 5-star, a 4-star and 2 3-stars, but I'm going to go in the order that I read them as normal. The first book that I finished was Far from the Tree by Rowan Benway. This was very kindly gifted to me for my birthday by Chloe at Chloe Reads Books, so Chloe, thank you so much. I also buddy read this with Charlotte from Books and Bargains, who I've already mentioned. This has been on my want to read list since last year. I think I saw Books and I'll talk about it, and it was on my wish list for ages, and then Chloe very kindly sent it to me. First of all, can we just talk about this cover? I feel like I read it right at the perfect time of year with all these autumn leaves, because autumn, I'm just calling it autumn is here. Yeah, so it's got this beautiful cover. So we're following, it's a YA contemporary, we're following 3 siblings who at the start of the book don't know that they're siblings. We've got Grace, who's 16. She has just had a baby and given that baby up for adoption, and that kind of makes her want to find her biological mother. She's known her whole life that she's adopted, but when she tells her parents that she wants to find her biological mum, they sit her down and basically tell her that she's actually got 2 siblings. She's got a big brother, I think it's pronounced Joaquin, and a little sister called Maya, and then we follow all 3 of them and their different storylines. And this I've given 5 stars. It absolutely broke my heart, it smashed it to bits. I probably cried 4 or 5 times reading this book, and I'm not usually a crier when it comes to books. Yeah, it made me sob a couple of times, and then it put my heart back together and handed it back to me. I thought it was wonderful. I was actually between a 4 and a 5 most of the way through. There is an instance where a character lets out a breath they didn't know they were holding. Well, you all know how much I love that. So I was like, oh, I can't give it a 5 because it's not perfect, and then I got to the end and I was like, it has to be a 5 because I can't give it anything else, and voice knowing Charlotte sobbing. So yeah, I would highly recommend this. I really, really enjoyed it. It was just so beautifully done, and I don't think I've ever read a book about adoption or people that have been adopted before. There's also discussions of the foster system because the brother has never been adopted, he's just been bounced from foster house to foster house, and it's about family, and it's about grief, and it's about trusting people, and it's about love, and I just thought it was wonderful. I also really need it to be turned into a Netflix series because I think it'd be ace. So there was that one. That was the 5-star. Then the 4-star read was Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood. This is this month's pick for what the book club read, and this is I think, my second favourite Atwood behind The Handmaid's Tale. This is historical fiction based on a true crime. So it's based on the real life murders of a gentleman and his housekeeper, which took place in Canada in the 1800s. And Grace Marks, who is one of the characters in this book, was a real woman, or a girl. She was 16 at the time, and she was accused of helping James McDermott, who was the murderer. She was accused of helping him, and no one ever really knew if she did help, if she was the instigator, or if she was just kind of dragged along and forced to help him. And this is her story, and we have a fictional psychologist who's trying to get to the bottom of it. When the book opens, Grace has been in prison for about 25 years, I think, and a psychologist comes to see her because he's trying to work out if she's guilty or not, and if she's not guilty, he's trying to get her a pardon. So we get his point of view, we get her point of view, and yeah, it kind of goes from there. And I really enjoyed this. This to me is much more readable than some of her early work. It is literary fiction, but it's less heavy literary fiction. So if you like historical fiction and if you like true crime, I would really recommend this. I'm also about to start watching the Netflix series. I think it's 6 episodes. I did watch it a couple of years ago when it came out, but it's been a while and I can't quite remember it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think I gave it a 4 because the pace was a little bit laggy. But Atwood isn't usually great at endings, and I felt like this one was much better. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And then 2 3-star books. So the first book is Cinderella is Dead by Kalynn Bayron. This was a book, if you saw my haul, I was so excited to read this, and Charlotte gifted me this for my birthday. Oh, also, sorry, I meant to say, this a copy of this was gifted to me by Shannon at 155 Books. She sent it to me, I think, for Christmas last year, but obviously I had to wait a while to get to it, so thank you very much, Shannon. Thank you for sending me this. It's a beautiful edition. It's in the edition that I'm collecting for my Atwoods, and it looks really good on my shelf, so thank you very much. Anyway, this was gifted to me by Charlotte, who I've already mentioned twice in this clip. I was really hyped for this book, and I really love the setting. The setup is very clever because it's set in a world where the story of Cinderella is taken as the truth, and it's now 200 years since Cinderella's died, and on their 16th birthday, or in the 16th year, all girls have to go to the ball to be chosen and to find their prince, but actually everything is not as it seems, and this society is really just dystopian. And I really love the setup because we're following, what is her name? I've forgotten already. Sophia. I literally finished this yesterday. We're following Sophia, who doesn't want to find her prince. She's in love with her friend who happens to be a girl. She really struggles with all the rules in society. She doesn't think it's fair, and she basically sets off a rebellion. Yeah, I thought this was very clever. I liked the way it was sort of put together and the premise. I didn't think the writing was that great. A couple of times the tense changed halfway through a scene, which really irritates me, because I don't understand why that wasn't caught by an editor. And it just didn't feel that well written, and I thought maybe it's a debut, so I looked up the author, but actually the author has been published a lot. And so yeah, it fell flat for me, and it felt a little bit kind of adventure by numbers, and the pace was quite slow. I think you could probably have cut out 50 odd pages, because once things kind of get underway, I don't want to give spoilers, it's sort of like, well, let's get on with it, let's do it. And the way things came together was just a little bit convenient for me. So I'm giving it 3 stars because I thought the setup was clever. I did really like our protagonist, but for me it just didn't quite work. So yeah, that was a 3. And then my last 3-star was the illustrated Beauty and the Beast. Now, this is a stunning object. Charlie chose this for me for my birthday, and I absolutely love it. And in terms of like books on my shelf, sorry, it's got a cat hair on the back of it, which everything does in this house. It's definitely just the most beautiful thing. So the original story is written by Gabrielle-Suzanne Barbot de Villeneuve. I definitely got that wrong, but it's here. And it's illustrated by Mina Lima, who also did the edition of Peter Pan that I read last month. So Charlie chose this for me for my birthday, which is wonderful. And the illustrations in here, I don't really want to show too many because I don't want to give spoilers, but they are absolutely glorious. Let me just find a chapter heading because they're always really nice like this. It's really beautiful, and there's loads of interactive elements in it, and yeah, I don't really want to show those off because it would be spoilers. So it's really beautifully done, and it's cleverly put together. I think if I was just looking at rating this as an edition, I would give it 5 stars. It's gorgeous and I would really recommend it. However, the story, I was so bored. I was really, really bored. I think the story I would give 1 or 2 stars, so I sort of evened it out to a 3. Yeah, it was just really dry and rambling, and it's clearly a morality tale. It's totally different to the Disney version, which is pretty standard because Disney tends to just do their own thing with stories. And yeah, it's one of my favourite Disney films, and this just fell really flat. So yeah, I sort of skim read the end of the story. The last 50 pages was just like, I am not connecting with this at all. So I'd highly recommend it if you have the others and you want to like complete your set, because it is beautiful and it's definitely worth like flicking through and looking at the illustrations and the interactive elements, because there are things that turn and things that fold out and all sorts of things going on, and the level of detail is amazing. But the actual book itself, the actual story, I didn't really enjoy. So yeah, those are all the books that I finished over the weekend, and I'll see you in a second. It's the 11th of September, and last night I finished The Rapture by Claire McGlasson. There it is. So yeah, I finished this last night. I was very kindly gifted this by Chloe for my birthday from Chloe Reads Books, and it's one that I wanted to read for ages. Actually, I have to confess that the main reason I picked this up now is because it's really wide hardback, and it was sticking out on my TBR shelf and it was just irritating me, so that's why I picked it up, because I've already read a book from Chloe this month. But anyway, that's why I picked it up. That's just how my brain works. You've got to pick your TBR somehow. So this is set in England in the 1940s, I think. It's like the interwar years, and it's about a real cult that was present in the UK at the time, who believed that a woman who took the name of Octavia was the daughter of God. Just as Jesus was the son of God, she believed that she was the daughter of God, and that her back garden in Bedford was the original site of the Garden of Eden. Can't really say any more than that. We follow Dilys, who lives in the cult, and she... Yeah, I can't say any more than that. This was really interesting. There was something about this is a debut novel, there was something about this that was really readable. Chapters are nice and short. It's very kind of creepy, it's like a slow creepy. There is also a female-female relationship in this, and it looks very much at the psychology of cults and how they work and what happens when a group of people get together and hyper focus on what they think is the truth. I really can't, I don't want to give any more away than that. Sorry, it's got this weird slip cover on it. There we go. I don't want to say any more than that because I feel like it's better if you just go in blind. I've given this a 3 out of 5 because I did really enjoy it, but I felt like there were a few things that happened, but there wasn't like a big thing that happened, and I really didn't like the ending. And for me, if I don't like the ending of a book, I can't give it 5 stars. And also it felt a little bit slow, like the pace was a little bit off. So yeah, which is tricky because we're kind of coming to realizations along with the character, and that takes time to unravel, but I just felt like the pace was a little bit off, and like I said, I didn't love the ending. However, if you're interested in this kind of book, I would recommend it. I think it would work really well on audio, so if there's an audiobook for it that you can find, I would definitely recommend that. Thank you very much, Chloe, for sending this to me. I'm really glad to have read it, and I also love this cover because I just feel like it's really menacing in a very like prim British kind of a way. It's the 12th of September and I have just finished The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. So you'll have seen that I got this last week as a belated birthday present, which is very exciting. And I was so excited to read it, it didn't even make it onto my TBR shelf. I just put it straight into my like to read pile, and I've just finished it. I read it in 2 sittings. I have heard all the hype about this one, particularly from Leanne, who gave it 5 stars. So I can't say too much about the synopsis of this. So basically, 25 years ago, a baby is found in a house, a big mansion in Chelsea, in London, and downstairs there are 3 heavily decomposed bodies. The baby is healthy and has clearly been looked after, but there's nobody else alive in the building. And that is all we know. And yeah, this is about family secrets and the dark things that people do to each other, and we've got multiple perspectives, and I really can't say much because I want you to just read it with no information, just going blind. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this. It was clever. I liked the way it came together. I've given it 4 stars rather than 5 because it didn't really shock me. I didn't have any like plot twist moments. What it did do, which I really liked, is it very gradually fed you the story. So the chapters are quite short, but in almost every chapter there was some like small revelation or a small piece of the jigsaw puzzle, and then it gradually drew together. The other reason I didn't give it 5 stars is I didn't love the ending, because some things get really neatly tied up with a bow, and other things I was kind of left a bit confused by. So definitely a really solid kind of domestic thriller, I guess. Definitely one of my favourite domestic thrillers. It's not really a genre, a subgenre that I enjoy, but I really liked this. And yeah, I'm going to look at some more Lisa Jewell ones because this was a good read. It's still the 12th of September, and 2 things have happened since I last spoke to you about 5 seconds ago. First of all, I've had some post, and I've had this sent through. Can you see if I block my face? Will it focus? No. So I donated £50 to Mind for my birthday, as I said I would in my unboxing video, my birthday unboxing, and they sent through this really beautiful little pin that you really can't see because I'm holding the camera, so I can't put my hand behind it. Let's try that. No, anyway, it's a very cute little pin which they sent to me with a lovely note to say thank you for donating and to remind me that Mental Health Day is on the 10th of October and to wear my pin with pride that day, and I definitely will. And just in general, I just think it's a really lovely thing, so that's cool. I've also finished another book, which is Don't Touch My Hair by Emma Dabiri. The lovely Aoife from Words of Clover sent this to me for my birthday. She sent me 2 books, this is one of them. And actually this book was on my TBR and my wishlist because Aoife was talking about it a couple of months ago, I think. And basically it's a non-fiction book looking at racism from the angle of hair. Emma is a Black Irish author. This is her debut. She's currently working on her PhD, and I will definitely be checking out her next book, which I think is called What White People Can Do Next, or what White People Can Do, something like that. It's out in March. I'm definitely going to be reading that. This, like I said, is looking at racism from the angle of hair. It's also got bits of like Emma's autobiography in it as well. She talks about being a young Black girl growing up in Ireland in the 80s, I think. She's about the same age as me. This was fascinating. This is definitely a 5-star. It's really short, but it packs a real punch, and this is my white privilege showing, but I'd never thought about hair before, and this really opened my eyes to that. She talks about like the science of black hair and how it differs from Western hair or from European hair, and yeah, it was fascinating. She looks at a whole range of topics. She looks at cultural appropriation. She looks at the different meanings behind various different hairstyles. She looks at the origins of mathematics in Africa. Just loads of stuff that I'd never really thought about, and yeah, I found this really interesting. It's really accessible. I enjoyed it because, and I feel like if I see an audiobook of it, I'm going to get it as well. But like her very sarcastic sense of humour definitely comes through, and I really enjoyed that. There were lots of like little asides and like bits in brackets, and you were like, I was like, yeah, I see you. So yeah, this was a really enjoyable read, really interesting read. I definitely learned from it, and like I said, an easy 5 stars, and I can't wait for her next one. It's still the 12th of November, and I have just read The Test by Sylvian Nouvelle. I say read because it's really short, it's just over 100 pages. I was very kindly gifted this by Daniela from Daniela Reads for my birthday, and I saw Kayla from Books and I'll talk about it, I think last year or earlier this year, I can't quite remember. She gave it 5 stars. Emma from Drinking by My Shelf also read it, gave it 5 stars, so did Danny. And I really can't tell you that much about it. I know I said that about The People Upstairs, but this, because it's so short, I don't want to ruin it, but it's about a man taking a British citizen test, and that is all I'm going to say. I've seen quite a few people say, oh, it's really Black Mirror-esque, and I looked up the author and it's because he's one of the writers on Black Mirror. It's not what you think it is. It's really thought-provoking. I loved it. I've given it 5 stars. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. Yeah, I'm going to be thinking about this for a good long time, that's for sure. It's the 15th of September. I'm at the end of a very long uni day, as you can probably tell by the state of me. And I've come to do the food shop. Woo! So I've just finished my first audiobook of the month on my drive down, which was The Psychology of Time Travel by Kate Mascarenhas. Hopefully I've said that right this time. I've not finished an audiobook for ages. I didn't read a single one in August. My consumption's definitely dropped right down lately. And I'm actually thinking about cancelling my Scribed subscription, but we'll see how it goes once I start placement. Anyway, this book I've talked about loads on my channel because I read it at the end of last year. It was one of my favourite books of last year. It's amazing. It's technically historical fiction, science fiction, which is not my thing, but basically we start in the 60s where a group of women invent a time travel machine. We then skip forward in time to 2017, I think, and we're looking at how basically they've changed the world. One of them had a breakdown in the process of time travelling, so it's looking, as the title would suggest, at the psychology of time travel. But also the woman who had a breakdown, her granddaughter receives in the post a death certificate, and it's not dated. It gives the age of the dead person, who is around about her grandmother's age, but it doesn't give the name or what happened. So she's basically trying to find out who died, how they died, and what happened, and kind of get to the bottom of it. That's the very basic plot, but there's loads of other stuff going on around it, and I just love it. It's so clever. It's got a female romance in it. It's got kind of political intrigue. It's got a murder mystery. It's all about how power corrupts. It's looking at what would happen if we were able to time travel, and in this world, like, you can't just have a time travel machine in your lounge and you pop back, you know, or put forward into the future. You have to train like an astronaut would train, and it's very regulated, and I just love it. The prose is beautiful. It's a debut novel. Just read it. It's really good. I love it. I'm so excited for her next book to come out. It's the 18th of September, and last night I finished Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. So this is really not at all my usual style. If you've watched any of my videos before, I don't usually read contemporary romances, but my wonderful friend Charlotte from Books and Bargains would not shut up about this book. I think it's this one or the sequel is going to be like one of her favourite books of the year. So I put it on my wish list, and then the lovely, I've got it down here, Frances from Ladybug Books on Bookstagram gifted it to me for my birthday. So because Charlotte had read it and loved it so much, I obviously picked it up fairly quickly after getting it, and I adored it. It was so good, and like I said, it's not my usual thing, but it was really fun. We've got a main character who has got fibromyalgia, hopefully I've said that correctly, and basically she decides that it's time to get a life. She's still living with her parents and all that kind of thing, so she moves out into her own flat, and she meets Red, who's the superintendent in the building, and it's their kind of enemies to lovers romance, and he's got issues as well, and they are basically just trying to like figure each other out, and it's just the most like lovely story. It's definitely an adult book. Talia Hibbert has previously written, would it be called erotica, probably? And you can see that in this because there are some very graphic sex scenes, which I thought were handled really well. You could tell she'd written that way before, and I thought it was really well done. There's lots of discussion around consent and safe sex and that kind of thing, which I thought was brilliant. I really enjoyed the tension that's built through this novel. We do have a little bit of the miscommunication trope, which is one of my personal like pet hatreds in books, but obviously given the genre, you can see why it's used. So I've given it 5 stars because I was sort of wavering between a 4 and a 5 all the way through. But I got to the end and it was just like, oh, I just really enjoyed it. It made me happy, it made me smile, so it has to be a 5 star. The next book is, I can't remember what it's called, but it centres around Chloe's younger sister, Dani, the middle sister of the 3 sisters, and then there's another book coming for Eve, who's their younger sister, I think in February. I really want to read the Dani Brown one, but I'm trying to like not go through them too fast because February is a long time away. But yeah, this was really charming, really fun. It's got some great discussions, like I said, around consent. There's a content warning at the front from the author about recovering after an abusive relationship, and this is a mild spoiler, so maybe skip on to the next clip if you don't want any spoilers. Although if I'd known this, I probably would have picked it up quicker. But what I really liked is that it's not Chloe that's recovering from an abusive relationship, it's Red. And I felt like that was handled really well, because you very rarely see in books female to male abuse. And I think it handled it really well. There's a point in this book where he gets triggered and he has a panic attack, and I felt like that was dealt with really well as well. So yeah, just all in all, I had a wonderful time. Charlotte was right, as much as I hate to admit that. And definite 5 stars. It's still the 18th of September. I am partway through my uni day, which is why my hair is now up, my glasses are on. Can't concentrate if my hair's not back off my face. Do you guys do that, or is that just me? Anyway, I have had 3 parcels arrive, and I think it's from Book Break, but I'm not sure. I am a book insider with Book Break, which is just so exciting. Book Break is the booktube channel for Pan Macmillan, which is run by Emma from Drinking by My Shelf, get my words out. And I'm a book insider with them, which is just like probably the most exciting bookish thing that's ever happened to me. And yeah, I got an email, it's a couple of weeks ago now, with some books that they were offering for review. I've requested 3, so I'm pretty sure that's what these are. But because it's been a couple of weeks, I can't remember what I requested. So let's find out. Let's see if it is Book Break first, or... Ooh, yes, it is. Okay, so the first one is The Darkest Evening by Anne Cleeves. This is a thriller. God, look at this hardback. Can I remember what this was about? No. It's the 9th novel in a series. Okay, so driving home during a swirling blizzard, Vera Stanhope's only thought is to get there quickly. But the snow is so heavy she becomes disorientated and loses her way. Ploughing on, she sees a car slewed off the road ahead of her. With the driver's door open, Vera assumes the driver has sought shelter, but when she inspects the car, she's shocked to find a young toddler strapped in the back seat. That's as far as I'm going to go with the synopsis. This sounds really good. I've never read an Anne Cleeves book before, but that's a great cover. And it's snowy, so I feel like it's going to be good for getting into over the next couple of months. So yes, thank you very much, Book Break. I'm really excited to get to that. Okay, next one is, oh yes, The Harpy by Megan Hunter. So I've seen a few people talk about this. This is really short. Is this a novella? Yeah, it is. Oh, brilliant. Okay, it's less than 200 pages. Again, beautiful hardback edition. I think this is about a man who has an affair. Yes. So it's about a couple where the man has an affair, and they agree that in order to rebalance their relationship, the woman is allowed to hurt him 3 times, however she chooses, and it's about that. As the couple submit to a delicate game of crime and punishment, Lucy herself begins to change, surrendering to a transformation of both mind and body from which there is no return. I'm really excited to read this. I've heard really good things. Like I said, it's also really short, which is always a good thing, and another very cool cover. Okay, last one. Oh, I do love a book delivery. Oh yes, okay. The Confessions by Jessie Burton. This has just come out in paperback. Look at this beautiful, this cover is stunning. Look at that. Oh, this is beautiful. And the back as well. We all know how I feel about a beautiful cover. So, the only one I've read of Jessie Burton's before is The Miniaturist, which I did enjoy. And this, I think, some people have kind of compared it to Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So it's about a girl who I think is searching for her mother, and then we get her mother's point of view, go back in time to the 70s, and she's basically trying to uncover the truth about her mother's life, I think. It sounds really good. It's basically, you know, historical fiction, I guess, and that cover is beautiful. I really enjoyed Jessie Burton's writing in The Miniaturist, so I'm really excited to get to that. So yes, thank you very much, Book Break. Yes, look, let's just stack these up like a professional booktuber might. Yes, thank you very much, Book Break. I am so excited to get to these. It's the 20th of September, and I don't usually film on Sundays because usually I look like a potato on a Sunday, and I totally take Sunday off and I don't worry about filming. I just chill, do my chores, read with my husband and just relax. However, today is a very special day, special Sunday, because today the boys and I are actually off to meet up with Charlotte from Books and Bargains and her lovely husband Tom. Charlotte lives up in the Midlands and they are going on holiday to Devon. We live just outside Bath, so we're sort of like halfway through their journey. So they came down last night and stayed in a nearby town, and then today we're going to the book barn, which is near our house, to meet up at a distance, obviously with our masks on. Also, sorry if you can hear buzzing, there's a fly in here and I cannot catch it to get rid of it. Yeah, so we're gonna go meet up today, which I'm really excited about. But it obviously means that I've had to make an effort because I don't want to look like a potato. So I've actually got a dress on, obviously you can't tell, but this is a dress and I've got makeup on. And I've blow dried my hair and then put it into a ponytail because it's at that length where it's really starting to annoy me. So yeah, so I have got some books to talk about, so I thought I would film now instead of tomorrow morning. So far this weekend I've finished 3 books. So we've got 2, well, all 3 actually are weird in their own special ways. The first one is Perfume by Patrick Zuskind. Hopefully I've said that correctly. This was gifted to me for my birthday from Riri Reader on Bookstagram, and the lovely Amy from Amy Myers reached out when she saw that I got this and asked if I wanted to buddy read it. She'd read it before, I never had. I think I added it to my TBR because I saw somebody talking about it. I can't quite remember who. This is weird. So this is set in 18th century France. Was it 18th? Yeah, 18th century France. It was written in the 80s, I think. And it's originally translated from German. When were you first published? Yeah, 1985 this was written. It was originally written in German and then translated, and I was sort of expecting like a Sweeney Todd kind of vibe, because it's about a serial killer who is obsessed with capturing the scent of a woman, and it's really not that. It's very much a character study of him and of the people that he meets along the way. It's really overwritten. But weirdly, Amy and I were talking about this, weirdly it really works in this book. I usually hate overwritten stuff, but somehow this really worked, and especially the first 50 pages, which we read in like 50-page sections. And I said to Amy on Monday, I was like, I feel breathless having read it because there's just so much information coming at you, but it really builds this picture of Paris at the time. And sorry, I don't know how it's so dusty already. Yeah, it's just really weird, and we don't get a lot of murder. Most of the murder is done off screen, and the ending is just one of the weirdest things I've ever read. But I don't think I'm glad I read it, and I really enjoyed buddy reading with Amy. She did really well putting up with my what the hell did I just read messages. I don't think I enjoyed it. I've given it a 3. It might be more of a 2, but we'll stick with a 3 for now. Yeah, it's weird, and I'm not quite sure. So sorry, that's not a very helpful review, is it? I'm not really sure. But this was not what I was expecting. And yeah, I didn't love it. I do, however, absolutely love this cover because look how creepy it is. Yeah, weird one. Then I read Burnt Sugar by Ivani Doshi, which has also been published under the name of Girl in White Cotton. This has been, well, you can see on here, it's been longlisted. It's now been shortlisted for the 2020 Booker Prize. I can see why. It's her debut, and it's set in India, and it's basically about a grown woman and her relationship with her mother, and her mother has dementia, and as her mother's memories are slipping away, our protagonist is trying to basically remember, like, fill in the gaps that her mother's forgetting, and it's about their very toxic mother-daughter relationship and how complicated that can be. This is not going to be for everybody. It's very literary fiction. I've given it a 4 because I really enjoyed what it was doing. I thought it was like really sharply written, and it's not an enjoyable read, it's quite an unsettling read, but I quite enjoyed being unsettled by it, if that makes any sense, just because the writing was so well done. I really hated the main character, which, you know, not everybody has to like main characters. For me, I don't have to like them, but it helps if I do. And yeah, it feels like a very slow descent into madness. So if that kind of thing interests you, I would recommend it. I would say if you have, is it no, I can't remember what it's called. The phobia of being sick. I wouldn't recommend this. There's a lot of like bodily fluids, various bodily fluids throughout this, and that made me quite queasy, but I think that's the point. So yeah, this is one that's going to stay on my mind for a long time. This is also one of the books that my brother gifted me for my birthday, and if you saw my haul, you'll have seen that he put a post-it note inside each book, or on each book, to like explain a little bit about why he'd chosen it. So for this one he said, "This is quite sharp but a very insightful account of family dynamics, and I got a lot out of it. When I was reading it, I wondered what you would think," which is a great reason for choosing a book for somebody. So yeah, this one was a 4 for me. I can see why it's been shortlisted, and I'll be interested to see if it wins. And then the last book that I finished this weekend is The Upstairs Room by Kate Murray Brown. This was gifted to me by the lovely Leanne from Literary Divergence and lovely wife Helen, so thank you both ladies. This was actually originally on my list because Leanne had mentioned it a few times in, I think she did a video about what things she likes in thrillers, and this was one of the books she talked about. So this, I wouldn't categorise this as a thriller, first of all. I think it's literary fiction with a supernatural twist. It's basically about a couple who buy a big house in London, their dream home, their forever home, but it needs doing up, and in the upstairs room on the 3rd floor they find some really disturbing writing on the walls, and that is all I'm going to say, and it goes from there. And basically as they live in the house makes it clear that it doesn't want them there, and the main focus of it is the woman, and I just found it so fascinating. I read this really, really quickly, and if I didn't have things like uni and adulting to do, I would have probably read it in one go. It's very creepy, it's very unsettling, it's a very slow kind of drip, as in like there's no like huge boo, scary moments, but it's this constant like drip of things, and you're not sure if she's maybe losing her mind. She's got 2 very small children, and she's very stressed, and she didn't really want to buy the house in the first place, but her husband really wanted it, so she went along with it, and their marriage is kind of not great. So you just wonder if maybe she's just tired, and you know the girls are young and work is stressful, but things gradually start to happen, and it was so creepy. I've given this a 4, not a 5. There is also they have to get a lodger to be able to afford to live in the house, and we also get her point of view, and sort of her like life story, and I really didn't think it needed it. I just thought that it would have been a lot tighter without her, but also it would have been shorter, so maybe this would have worked better as a novella, which also I meant to say about Perfume. I feel like this will work loads better as a novella rather than a full-length novel, and I feel like this would have been a 5-star had it just been Eleanor's point of view, because I think that would have made it feel really claustrophobic, whereas we also get husband Richard and Zoe the lodger. I did really enjoy this. It's the only book that Kate Murray Brown has brought out so far, and if she brings anything else I will definitely read it. And yeah, this almost had to go in the freezer a couple of times, and if you understand that reference, we can be friends. So yeah, those are the 3 books that I have finished so far this weekend, and now I'm off to see Charlotte. Okay, it's still the 20th of September. I just got back from seeing Charlotte and Tom, and we had such a good time. We were at the book barn for like 2.5 hours. We had a good rummage around the books, and then we just sat outside where we could obviously sit with our masks off at a distance and have a good chat, and yeah, it was so good. And what was weird is like it wasn't weird that it was the first time we were meeting, because Charlotte and I literally chat every day, so it was just, yeah, it felt like I'd just seen her last week. But yeah, I've got the biggest grin on my face now. And she bought me a bag of books. So I'm just going to quickly haul them, I guess. The first book is the only book that I bought at the book barn today, which I bought for my mother-in-law. But it's the Chronicles of Downton Abbey. And the dust jacket's a little bit grubby, but I can clean that up. But it's like it's a book about the series, and it's got all these like stunning full colour photographs and information about the cast and the different characters. My mother-in-law is a massive Downton Abbey fan. She will have had this gift by the time this video goes up, and yeah, I just saw it, and for £2 I thought, yeah, I'm gonna have that. So that's the only book I actually bought today. And then also when I got home, I've had an Amazon parcel. Don't remember ordering anything, so I've cut the top open because I really hate opening these bags on camera, so I haven't looked. But, oh, it is a book I ordered. It's Fifth Did I by J.D. Barker. I ordered this yesterday, why did I not remember that? Basically, Gary and I both read The Fourth Monkey. I read it last month, Gary finished The Fourth Monkey yesterday and loved it so much we both want to carry on with the series. So yeah, that's a book that I bought. And then the stuff that Charlotte, she's got this massive carrier bag of goodies. And I know she asked me a while ago, she was on hauling and she asked me to pick out any books I wanted, but I can't remember what they were, so I'm just going to dive in. She also, a bit random, she's bought me, or given me a pair of boots that she bought that don't fit her. So I'm going to try those. I think they might be a bit big, but there we go. Okay, what is in here? Oh, right. I'm going to go quickly. So we've got Three Women by Lisa Taddeo. The Wives by Tarryn Fisher. This is the ARC edition, so that's not what the final cover looks like. 7 Days by Alex Lake. Oh, I'm quite excited about this one. Yeah. What is this one about the dust jacket on it? Platform 7 by Louise. Doughty. Doesn't have its cover. So yeah, Platform 7. Sleep. Charlotte, why did you give me this? I already own this. But okay. Sleep by C.L.Taylor. That'll just probably go to the book barn. And You Are Not Alone by Greer, Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen, which I'm really excited for because The Wife Between Us was one of my favourite thrillers of, I think, last year or the year before. So I'm excited for that. And then, oh, she's put in some orange twirls because I was saying that I can't find them anywhere down here. Yes, there's like 2, 3, 4 of them. I wonder if I can get these in the fridge without Gary spotting them. So thank you for that. And then there's a feline and fiction box. I'm not gonna show you what she's written on that because she's being rude. This box is far too cute not to send it to you. She's written underneath though, so that's nice. And then what's in here? Ooh. Okay, The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware, which I have read but years ago. So I'm interested to see what I make of it these days. And then Claire Mackintosh, After the End. I was saying to Charlotte the other day, I don't think I've ever read a Claire Mackintosh. And this is beautiful. This doesn't have the dust jacket on it, but that naked hardback. Oh, look at that. So yeah, I actually have no idea what that book is about, but that's exciting. And then Skin Stuff, Glossier. Oh, it's a cleanser. Cool, that's nice. I think this is something that Charlotte tried, but it's not great for her skin, so she's passed that on to me. And then what is this last one? Oh, The Silent Patient by, is it Alex Michaelides? Again, doesn't have the dust jacket on it, but I'm really excited for this one. I've heard mixed things, and actually I already know what the twist is, but I'm still excited to give it a go. So she's given me a pair of boots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books, 4 orange twirls and some cleanser. So I've been thoroughly spoilt. I've had a great morning. It's a very, very good Sunday. It's the 21st of September and I finished last night The Harpy by Megan Hunter. You'll have obviously seen a couple of clips ago that I was sent this by Book Break, Pam Millen. And yeah, I picked it up straight away. It's really short, it's less than 200 pages. And it fits very neatly into a project that I've been working on for a little while, and that you will be seeing, I think once this wrap up goes live, it will be either the next video or the one after that, so you'll see what I'm talking about then. This I really enjoyed. It's a really odd, unsettling little book. It's basically about a married couple where the wife finds out that the husband's been having an affair, and he agrees that in return, if she stays with him, she can hurt him 3 times. And so they sort of start down this really dark path, and she starts to change. And it's this really beautifully written, unsettling, weird little book. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's about the really dark things that people do to each other. It's about the kind of inner anger that can bubble under the surface of an apparently normal looking life. And I really, really enjoyed it. I've given it 4 stars. Only because, well, I'm not really quite sure. I didn't get that 5-star feeling from it. I did very much enjoy it and I read it quickly. but for me there was something, I think possibly the emotional connection was missing, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is her second book, her debut, which I now forget the name of. Is it on here? No. I've put on my wish list because I really want to read that. That's set in a dystopian world where floodwaters are rising and a woman has just given birth and she's trying to survive with her son. This was fantastic. I would definitely look for anything else that she publishes. Like I said, I want to read her debut, but anything else that she brings out after this I'll definitely read. And thank you very much to Book Break for sending this to me because I really, really enjoyed it. It's the 22nd of September and I have just finished The Black Flamingo by Dean Atter. This was gifted to me by Shah at No Books Given on Bookstagram for my birthday, so thank you very much, Shah. This is written in verse and it tells the story of a British guy who is half Jamaican, half Greek Cypriot, and him basically finding his sexuality and also then going to university and discovering the world of drag. I loved this. This was so wonderful. I don't think, I need to go back and look through my Goodreads, but I don't think I've ever read a book in verse before. And I was a little bit sceptical as to how it was going to work. This is the gift note falling out. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, I was kind of sceptical as to how that would work for me because I probably shouldn't say this as somebody who's about to teach English, but I really struggle with poetry. It's not generally a format that I enjoy or that I connect with particularly, so obviously written in verse is basically a form of poetry, so I was a little bit like I'm not sure how this is going to go. Anyway, picked it up because so many people have been raving about it, and actually the verse worked really well. I didn't have any trouble at all. I flew through it because obviously being written in verse means that it's a really quick read, and I felt very connected to him and to his experience, and I just thought it was wonderful. I also loved that it's a British story, it's set in the UK, because quite often we get these stories but they're from an American perspective, so it was really nice to have a British one. The writing was just beautiful and I felt really emotionally connected. The end nearly made me cry, not quite, but I did get a little bit choked up, and it was just a really interesting perspective to be reading from. So yeah, if you've seen this around and you're thinking about it and you're not sure, go for it. It was a 5-star read for me. I loved it, and now I have this gorgeous book. Look at this cover, which was illustrated by Anishka Kular. Hopefully I said that right. I've got this gorgeous book that I can keep on my shelves. It's the 24th of September and I'm just about to start another day of uni, but last night I finished 7 Days by Alex Lake. You'll have seen that I was gifted this by Charlotte from Books and Bargains a couple of clips ago, and I've now finished the TBR that I set myself for September, which is a real surprise. I did not expect to have been reading this much. So I was just looking through my books and I saw this one. I thought, yeah, I really fancy this. So this is a thriller. Follows a girl called Maggie. I just had to check her name. I literally finished this like 12 hours ago. A girl called Maggie who was abducted when she's 15, and we're following her 12 years later, and she's still being held by the person that took her. And in that time she's had 3 sons, and every time a child turns 3, her captor comes and takes the child away. And she's now, her 3rd son Max is about to turn 3, and she's trying to work out how to save him and how to finally escape and get away. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This I felt like was how Room should have been. So one of the criticisms I see of Room, which I did enjoy when I read it, one of the criticisms I see is that people struggle with the child narrative, and in this we don't get the child narrative, it's Maggie's point of view, but we also get her family's point of view, and how they cope with her disappearance and the directions that their lives take, and I thought that was done really well. There's not really a big plot twist because we know pretty much from the start who's taken her, because that's part of the story, and I really liked that. I felt that was done well. I'd given it 4 stars rather than 5 because the ending felt really rushed and just, it was a little bit too tidy, and some things happened that I don't think would be realistic. So I thoroughly enjoyed this up until the last like 80 pages, and I was like, oh, this is getting tied up way too fast, especially because the pace of the rest of it is fairly slow, because we jump around from Maggie in the present day to Maggie when she first got abducted, and then a few different times during her captivity, and then we also flash back to her dad and her brother and her mum as well. We get all of their points of view throughout this whole thing, and so the pace was kind of slow because we'd get a chapter from Maggie and then suddenly we're over with her dad, then we're with her brother, and then we're looking at her mum, and then we're with her back in the past. So the pace is not the fastest throughout the book, and then suddenly in like the last 80 pages it's suddenly accelerated. But other than that, I enjoyed it. I thought it was well written. I would definitely pick up more from Alex Lake if I see them around, and if you liked Room but struggled with the child narrative, then I'd really recommend this one, because I feel like this is probably done slightly better. It's the 28th of September, and over the weekend I finished 2 very different books. So the first book that I finished was Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, and this was very kindly gifted to me for my birthday by Kat from Brews and Reviews, because she really enjoyed it, and I had it on my wish list because I've seen a couple of people talk about it. I know that Emma from Drinking by My Shelf had read it and loved it. This is following a black woman in the 70s, and she is pulled back through time to 1815 to rescue the life of a white boy. And obviously in 1815 in America, in the South, which is where she is, slavery is prevalent. Because she's black, she's assumed to be a slave in that time, and it's basically about what happens to her and this boy Rufus, who she realises very quickly is one of her ancestors, and so she has to keep him alive in order for herself to be born. And yeah, she gets pulled back to him several times throughout the span of his life. I really enjoyed this. I thought this was very clever. This is a really interesting way to look at racism and slavery, and I just found it fascinating. I read it very quickly, it really gripped me. She also has a white husband. What's her name? Dana. Terrible character names. She also has a white husband who accidentally comes with her on one of her visits, and seeing that dynamic between the two of them shift because of what's going on around them and the society they're in, it was really fascinating. Obviously, given the subject matter, this is quite dark. I need to give obviously a content warning for slavery, for rape, for self-harm, and there's also a couple of very graphic scenes where people are whipped. So just be aware of that before you pick it up. I've given it 4 out of 5 rather than 5 stars, only because I was struggling to connect with it, and then as I was reading I realised it's because there's very little description of characters, of what they look like, and we get a brief description of the house that she gets pulled back in time to, but we don't get, I didn't have a really strong sense of place. Like, I struggled to visualise it, and personally I'm quite a visual reader, so I need quite a bit of character and place description. So for me that was missing slightly, and because I couldn't quite picture the people involved, I didn't feel quite as connected. However, I would still highly recommend it. It's not a very long book. Is it less than 300 pages? Yeah, 295 pages, this copy. It's very clever. It's got a lot to say that's still incredibly relevant, and I would still highly recommend it. So Kat, thank you for sending this to me. I did really enjoy it. Got a lot out of it, so I've got hiccups this morning. And then the second book that I finished, like I said, they're very different, was Murder Most Unladylike by Robin Stevens. So this is part of a middle grade series. It's very shiny this morning, so let's tilt that. And you can see how battered this copy is. That was not me. Charlie has really found a love of mystery books, and he loves trying to work out who the villain is and get to the bottom of the mystery. He started to write his own, which is something I just love, and so we started him off with this series because it was recommended on Twitter, and it's basically Mallory Towers crossed with Sherlock Holmes. Charlie absolutely loves them. This is the first book. He's already 3/4 of the way through the second one, and we've got the third book on the way, and they've got these brilliantly bright colours and these sprayed edges, although I think Charlie possibly dropped this in the bath given the state of it when it came back to us, but if you look on the back, they've all got these brilliantly bright colours. He's now reading Arsenic for Tea, and we've got First Class Murder on the way. He's really enjoying them and giving them 5 stars, and he's reading them really quickly, which is great because they're actually quite long. I think this was over 300 pages. yeah, it was about 320 pages. So that's great because it's getting him into reading longer books. However, for me, and I know I'm not the audience for middle grade, I found this a little bit flat. It's very derivative of other books, and obviously if you're a kid reading this for the first time, you won't notice that, but it didn't feel like it did anything particularly original. There was one like small plot twist that made me laugh out loud because it was really well done, and there's definitely some good humour running through it. The main relationship between the two girls I didn't love. It was a little bit bully and victim, but it's basically about two girls at a boarding school in the 1930s, I think, and they discover a dead body in the gym. 1934 this starts. They find a dead body in the gym, and then when they go for help and come back, the body's disappeared. So they have to prove A, that a murder took place, and then B, try and solve the murder. And it's just about what goes on in their school, and it's very kind of Mallory Towers. There's like midnight feasts and, you know, all sorts of like hijinks that go on. And it was enjoyable, but for me it didn't set my world alight. So for me it was a 3 out of 5, but I do love it for the fact that it's getting my kid really excited to read, which is fab. It's the 29th of September, and last night I finished The Taster by V.S. Alexander. This is very kindly gifted to me for my birthday by a book fiend named Mel. Thank you very much for sending this to me. This is one of those books where I can't remember how this ended up on my wish list / TBR, because looking at Goodreads, like, none of my friends have read it. A couple of people want to read it, have it like listed as want to read, but yeah, I'm not quite sure where this came from. Anyway, this is historical fiction set in the 1940s in Germany. We're following, what's her name? Magda. I literally finished this last night. Why didn't I remember her name? We're following Magda, who is a young woman in need of a job, and so she ends up working for Hitler. And she works as one of his tasters, and this was a real historical thing that happened. He had a team of about 14 or 15 young women who tasted all of his food for him before he ate it to check for poison. And at the start of the novel, she is not a member of the Nazi party, and she is slightly confused about how she feels about the Nazis. Her mother is very pro-Nazi, her father is very against them, and she's sort of somewhere in the middle. And I found this interesting because I really like, I read a lot of historical fiction, as you guys know. I don't usually read a lot of war fiction because for some reason it just doesn't appeal to me. But what I do find really interesting is reading fiction from the perspective of the normal everyday Germans at this time, because I just find it really fascinating how the Nazis came to be in power and what the normal average everyday non-party member thought of them and felt about them. So we definitely get a lot of that, and it basically follows her through the final 2 years I think it is, of the war, all the way to the bunker. And yeah, I enjoyed this. I gave it 3 stars. It's one of those books where it's really well written. You can tell the author has written books before and is very skillful, but there was just no emotional connection for me. And there are things in this book that happen that are really harrowing, and I'll give the content warnings in a minute. But I didn't really feel much because I didn't feel connected to Magda. I didn't really feel connected to any of the characters around her. It felt very much like a draft, like an outline sketch of the story. And the story was good and it was well paced. It was interesting. We meet various people from history, and we get an interesting perspective on the events that occurred. Which I enjoyed, but I've kind of come away from it, and I just know that in a few months' time I won't remember what this was about. There's something that happens at the end that nearly made me throw the book across the room because I was so annoyed. And it uses one of the tropes that I really hate, but I can't tell you what that trope is without giving major spoilers. It's just annoying. It just annoyed me. So yeah, a bit of a tricky one because I enjoyed it up until the last like 10 pages and I was like, are you, what? Really? So yes. Content warnings, obviously, for Nazism and war. There is also a very graphic gang rape scene. What else? There is a section in one of the concentration camps, also content warning for suicide, and general war violence. So yeah, it's pretty graphic in places, so just be aware of that. So yeah, this was a bit of a random pick because like I said, I don't know where it's come from, but I'm glad I've read it. I was excited to read it. I'm glad I read it. It's an interesting view on history, and I think I would read more from this author. It's the 30th of September and I'm just on my uni lunch break, but I've had an Amazon delivery and I don't think I've ordered anything, so I figured I would film in case it's a gift. Although also the shape of it, which I'm struggling to show you without showing you my address, is confusing because I don't think it's book shaped. So let's see what this is. Ooh, oh, it's a candle, Oriental Fig, which is lovely. Who's this? Oh, it is a present. Who's it? Oh, it's from Simone. From me, Simone, and I love sugar candles, and other than the amber scent, this is one of my favourites. Enjoy from Simone. Simone, thank you. That's really sweet. It's Oriental Fig, which I've never tried before, and it's a little bit dodgy ordering candles without smelling them, but oh man, that smells stunning. It's really fruity, but like in a warm scented way. Aw, thank you very much, Simone. I'm gonna light that now. Perfect. And those are all the books that I read in September. So September has been a very intense month. There's been a lot of change happening for me, and I've got a vlog coming at the end of this month that will show you my first 6 weeks of my PGCE, but it's been exhausting. I've been going to bed very, very early. Weekends have been spent resting and recharging. Yeah, so I did not expect to read 19 books in September. I also didn't expect my wrap up to be this long. Going into the month, was hoping to read 4 or 5 books. You know, I had the buddy read with Charlotte and I had the Atwood, and then I was hoping to fit in a couple of others, and that, you know, I would have been happy with that. But actually my readings continued at a fairly normal rate for me, which I think shows just how important it is, because this has been a month where I've really pared everything down to the bare essentials just to kind of survive. But I've still managed to read, so that's been great. I know I said this on my last wrap up, but I really think October is going to be a much shorter reading month. I'm due to start placement in my first school in the middle of October. Fingers crossed, please just cross your fingers for me that I managed to get onto placement, because obviously it depends on what happens with COVID, but in theory I should be starting placement, and then my capacity for reading I think will drop. So we will see what happens in October. But for September, let's do some stats. So I read 19 books, which totaled 6,163 pages, or 206 per day. So I think that's slightly above what I read over the summer, so that's great. And I had an average star rating of 4.0, so I had a really quality month. In terms of 5-star reads, these were my 5-star reads, and it's a real mix of stuff here. So we had Don't Touch My Hair by Emma Dabiri, which was the non-fiction, looking at the history of black hair and racism from the angle of hair, which I found absolutely fascinating and really, really would recommend that one. Well, I would really recommend all of these. Then I had Far From the Tree by Rowan Benway, which I buddy read with Charlotte and made me sob. I also had The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta, which I just thought was just so wonderfully done. So that was also a 5-star. Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert was another one that's been influenced by Charlotte, because she won't shut up about it, and annoyingly she was right, because I absolutely loved this one. The Psychology of Time Travel by Kate Mascarenhas, I think I've said that right, was a reread. It was one of my favourite books of last year. It's still one of my favourite books. I also got my husband to read this and he really enjoyed it. And also The Test by Sylvain Neuvel, this weird short odd little book that blew my tiny mind. So yeah, in terms of trying to pick a favourite of the month, I mean, Psychology of Time Travel is a reread, and I can't pick rereads as my favourite of the month. I think it's going to have to be Far From the Tree by Rowan Benway, just because it made me so emotional, caught me off guard. I thought it was beautifully done. So yeah, this is my book of the month, my favourite read of the month, but as you can see, there was some stiff competition. So yeah, those are all the books I read in September. Drop me a comment below, let me know what your favourite read of the month was. If you made it this far, leave me a leaf emoji as well, because the nights are drawing in. Today is the 1st of October. I'm very happy to be back in jumpers, so leave me a little autumnal emoji, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks guys, bye!